Hello again, friends and beautiful people. Hi, hi, hi. It is Catherine Massell, Elevated Consciousness Coach, New Earth Visionary, leader of the group. We are New Earth. Hello and welcome to our final day 3 of the Boldly Free Live Summit. Hey, hey, hey. Hi, Jeffrey. I see you. I hope everyone is enjoying our final day of talks and that you're enjoying binging on everybody's good stuff. Oh man, it has been such a tremendous event and so incredible to witness the beauty of our presenters and the graciousness of our audience members. You've all just been tremendous, and I can't thank you enough or appreciate you enough. Hi, Dina. Thanks for the introduction. So yeah, last minute change. As it happens, we have cancellations, last minute changes to, hi Sarah, to this summit. It happens every time. It's not a big deal. Because as I mentioned yesterday, when I substituted for another presenter that had to excuse himself at the last moment, I never run out of things to talk about. So that's always a given. I can really talk for hours and hours, days and days, weeks and weeks, months and months, years and years on all things ascension and human awakening. So I wanted to talk about, in light of, I was trying to think of this morning what it is that I wanted to focus on and what would be a great thing to center on and bring attention to for the power of the group, for uplifting the group. And I thought, well, what a great example, a gift the universe has given me to talk about the power of being in flow. So I'll give you an example. So when I received late last night the from one of our presenters that she wasn't able to come and do her live talk here today, I could have been in a moment where, I said, oh, fuck my life. I have to now find someone else to fill in, and I got to go and search for somebody. But I don't do that. I don't do that. Instead, I have trained myself over time to be in a place of flow, because life never stops being life, right? You can say life is challenging. Life is just life, right? Life is just life. So you either get to flow with it in all of its ebb tides and all of its, tsunamis, all of its crashing waves on the shore, all those moments where we're riding high on the crests of high waves, or we get to, languish in those moments where we're like, oh, fuck my life, this thing again, or yet another challenge or whatever. It becomes, for me, when I think about flow, I think about it as something I get to choose, and it's moment to moment. We can either be in the fuck my life vibes or we can be in the flow vibes. And flow is something you choose, right? It's never something that you're just like, you choose it once and then you just kind of go with it and that's there forever. No, it's a moment to moment choosing. And when I did my talk yesterday about mental resilience in the time of Earth's transition, it's a guarantee that we're going to experience changes on this planet daily, in our personal lives and on a collective scale as well. And so when we think about being in flow, I think of it as, I have become really good at looking for the opportunity to continue to feel good no matter what. That's what I think of when I think of flow. It's an opportunity for me to look to where I can feel good and choose to feel good no matter what. That's a decision you make, right? Flow is a decision that you make. And I made this decision long ago, and I help my clients to make this decision. That's really what's, the one of the core things that are taught in the In Alignment and Thriving core program is that you're never going to run out of challenges. You're never going to run out of triggers. You're never going to run out of fuck my life moments, in other words. where you feel put upon by the world at large and you have to make a decision, right? When we get spun out in fuck my life vibes, and I hope you know what I'm talking about when I talk about that you're just like, oh God, we go into that victim mode and we think, why am I always being challenged in this way? Or why is this trigger always happening to me? Or whatever it is, right? And we languish or marinate in that energy, and we're in that poor me, I wish someone would just come and rescue me kind of vibes. That's not flow. That is the opposite of flow, right? So I could have last night, when I got the messenger message that the presenter was not able to come through and do their presentation, I could have been like, oh, now I have to go find somebody and do this stuff, and it's Sunday and I don't want to do this stuff. And I'm like, no. As is characteristic for me at this point, because I have taken the pains to and made the effort to look for opportunities where I can continue to feel good no matter what external influence might be creating a situation that I have to interface with. I still, always and ever, you still, always and ever, have the opportunity to look for, where you can feel good no matter what. So I simply said, okay, I have a million things to talk about all the time. I am never short on content. Those of you who followed me for a while and been part of my community for a while. Hi, Laura. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Dina. Hi, everyone. Hi, Katrina. I am a content queen. So I don't mean to be cocky or arrogant. It's just a fact. I never run out of things to talk about. It's hard for me to do a 30-minute talk because brevity is not my thing. But I can do it, right? And I always like to look for opportunities where I can be of service. So I tend to see things not as challenges, but as opportunities where I can be of greater service. So it allowed me to tune into what was going on in the group and get the collective feel of, what would be the most beneficial thing to talk about for the group, and then to deliver something to you guys that resonates with you, that can land with you where you're at, a teachable moment, in other words. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you. So it's a choice. Do you get that? It's a decision that you make to be in flow. And as we are in this time of New Earth's transition, it is virtually guaranteed that you're going to face daily challenges. You're going to face daily obstacles. You're going to interface with, places where you're going to have to make difficult choices. Let's just say it as it is, right? And as I mentioned yesterday, we always have the choice between choosing something easy or choosing something right. Choosing something easy might mean that you just default to old programming, old conditioning, that poor me type mentality that is the victim that feels put upon by the world. That may be a habit. That might be conditioning for many of us, okay? But on the flip side of that, what is right for me is to constantly be in alignment with my mission, my purpose, my raison d'etre, as you would say in French, my whole reason for being, which is to be of service. And to constantly look for opportunities where I can be of consistently higher levels of service to the community that I serve, because that's what matters to me. That's my lifeblood. That's where I get all the powerful mojo and the endless, limitless, boundless supply of energy resources for me to keep stepping up and serve in higher and greater ways. I love to teach. I love to share. I love to see the lights go on for people when they have an aha moment or a revelation because of maybe some way I worded something, or maybe a post that I wrote, or whatever that is. And then being able to take that knowledge, take that wisdom, and be able to apply it to their life. That's everything to me. That's flow to me. So it becomes very clear for me to choose that. But we can never be in that vantage point if we aren't in presence, which was another video that I recorded yesterday, a live talk that I did here in the group. We have to be in those moments and be present and have full awareness of, well, am I choosing fuck my life vibes in this moment, or am I choosing flow? Hi, DC. Yes, it's a decision, Janine says. Absolutely. And I could have been in those vibes last night. And I had two, cancellations for the summit. It happens. I understand. Life is happening. You can put whatever kind of value judgment on life that you want to, but life is just life. Okay? Life is just life. That's how I see it. It's the good and the bad and everything in between. And I don't even label it as good and bad anymore, because I've chosen to look at flow with a completely different objective observer, compassionate witness vantage point of perspective, that there's just life. And so that allows me to maintain some kind of neutrality and have this kind of inner peace and inner stillness. And here's the secret sauce, that when you start cultivating that and crafting that in your own inner reality, it becomes so delicious in your life that you don't want anything to take you out of that. And even though there are still fresh challenges and obstacles every day in your life, here's the thing that I tell my clients all the time in alignment and in my other programs. It doesn't have to mean anything unless you allow it to. The biggest triggers we feel are only the big triggers because we allow ourselves to feel like this trigger is the boss of us, or has a hold over us, or has power over us in some way. If my inner resolve and fortitude dictates that my inner peace is something that I've worked very hard for, I've put a lot of effort towards maintaining this stillness and neutrality within me. I want to maintain this kind of unfuckable with peace in my inner reality, and I make that the strongest energy. So that even when life comes at me with obstacles and triggers and fuck my life moments, I can still be with it and say, well, isn't that interesting? Isn't that curious that this thing is popping up again? When we're in this place, what we can do instead of going into that poor me victim mode is have a sense of curiosity about it. When you do this more often, that's starting to show you or be evidence for you that you're starting to be in this kind of place of neutrality, this place of stillness within, when we can have curiosity about what's happening. That's a kind of emotional maturity. That's spiritual maturity, because those things go hand in hand. They definitely go with each other. They're part of the same energetic bandwidth or frequency of energy, right? Spiritual maturity and emotional maturity. It's to not be in this place of constant reaction from our human and our ego level, which is basically indicative of a survival state mentality, but rather to be in a place where we can respond from the highest and best part of us. So the less we have in our lives that can distract us from being in flow, the more we're able to choose it. So what do I mean by that? So one way we work with this, and a big way we work with this in the In Alignment and Thriving program, is we look at our saboteurs. So our saboteurs are just archetypes or personality characteristics that belong to ego. And we all have certain saboteurs that tend to be running the show of our lives. And these are parts of self that we kind of gave a certain amount of energy over to. We made a decision when we were very young, somewhere in our lives, where we felt incapable in a certain situation, like we really couldn't handle it. So as humans, we're incredibly creative. We create these inner archetypes that we can kind of feel like, and it's an erroneous kind of illusory thing that we do, but we feel like we can hand over power to this aspect of us so they can take over in those moments where we feel less capable at life, where we feel we can't handle life's triggers and, life's challenging moments and obstacles. And these saboteurs tend to crop up in those moments where life is challenging to us at the most and kind of run the show. Okay? And the more this happens in life's challenging moments, the less present you are. And the less you have the ability to choose to be in flow. Because this is a very powerful, yes, these are shadow aspects of you, but the way we work with it in Alignment and Thriving is you actually realize that these saboteurs are really your friends rather than your enemies. They're not trying to hurt you. because all of these saboteurs, these shadow aspects, are just parts of self that we've shoved away or pushed away at over time in those, consequent uncomfortable moments over and over again throughout our lives. We delegate a part of ourselves to, like, here, I can't handle this, I need to check out. Here, this stickler or controller aspect of my personality, you deal with this because I can't. So it's this kind of illusory thing that we do because you can't ever really give away a part of yourself. You're not ever you in your wholeness. But we, in our ego's perspective, can think that we push away or can shove away at or compartmentalize these parts of self and say, you know what? I'm pushing away at you. And anytime we do that, we fragment ourselves from wholeness. We fragment ourselves from source. We disconnect from our highest level of intuition, our God self, if you want to call it that. Our master aspect would be another way to say it. And the more you do that, the more you divest yourself of being in flow. Because you have these huge distractors, saboteurs, running the show. And even though it is a part of you, in our ego's perspective, we think that it's a part of us that we can delegate to. A protector would be another way to think of our saboteurs, when we start to realize the energetic potential that we've, let go of or shoved away at by creating these saboteurs in our lives. Once we call them back, what we're actually doing is calling back an incredible amount of creative potential that we could actually funnel into what we want to create in the world. The desired reality that we are, most aligned with expressing, right? And the more we shove away at these parts of self, the more we divest ourselves of being in flow and listening to the part of self that's the master aspect and saying, this is where it's really at over here. Here's where you need to be paying attention over here. But if you're not in flow, you're not going to pay attention to that. And our inner critic is like the overall judge, the overall saboteur. And even though there might be different archetypal representations of the inner critic or the judge, it's all a form of the inner critic, the inner judge, right? And we all have this. And it doesn't matter where you are in your life. It doesn't matter how successful you are. It doesn't matter what level of achievement you're at. Every single one of us has ego. So every single one of us has the inner critic. Every single one of us has doubt. Every single one of us has limiting self-beliefs. Doesn't matter what stage of our human evolution we're at. It is a foundation for every single one of us. But what really separates us out is those of us who give ourselves over or cave in to the voice of the inner critic and being in those fuck my life moments more and more, or those of us who don't. Those of us who believe there's always an opportunity for me to choose better and higher. There's always an opportunity for me to live at the fullest expression of who I am and who I was always meant to be. And here's the wrinkle, folks. If you can glimpse it, if you have this idealized expression for you, stop putting it on a pedestal. Stop putting it on a pedestal. Because if it's in your awareness, it's 100% meant for you. It's there in your awareness. And we don't have awareness of anything that isn't meant for us. Okay? So have some faith and really take some comfort in the fact that if you have awareness of this idealized potential of you, you living out your most desired reality, if it's there in your imagination, you have awareness of it, you can feel it, you can sense it in your body when you imagine it, it's meant for you. It's yours. No one can take that from you. No one can swindle you out of it. You're the only one that can keep you in resistance to it or keep you at arm's length from it, right? So when we are in this place of flow, understand that even though we talked about this mental resilience piece, and we also talked a little bit about emotional intelligence yesterday when I did my live on mental resilience, have to understand that being in flow is something you need to choose from your human, right? Because we're always working with two different vantage points of self. We are working with, if you want to call it your higher self, your intuition, your master aspect. That's the part of you that is aligned with source, and thus aligned with the core truth of who you really are beneath all the layers and veils that we had to create as an identity of self in order for us to just survive, okay? And that part of self that has all the veils and layers and works with the saboteurs and these archetypes of self to have us handle situations that feel uncomfortable or challenging. This is not the wholeness of you. It's an aspect of you, but it is not you in your fullness. It's a very, very truncated, contracted version of you. This is the version of you that doesn't have all the information about who you are in your entirety. This is a part of you that's only working with a snapshot, a microscopic version of what you're truly capable of and what your full potential truly is. And so you have to understand, when you're working with these two vantage points of self, it's just conditioning and habituation to constantly, divert our attention to this small self that doesn't have all the answers. It's just conditioning, because this is the aspect of self we've been used to. But this is also the aspect of self that is still working with a survival level mindset. This is the aspect of self that is not in purview of all the moving parts, the multidimensional aspects of who you are and what you're capable of and what your potential is. This is the part of you that can only work with what is known, what has been known and as part of the collective experience, or what has been part of your personal individualized experience. So we often divert our attention and focus to this part of self that has no idea about any part of you that is exploring a new frontier, a new way of being, pursuing a new desirable potential that hasn't been experienced by you yet. This part of you cannot give you advice on becoming that. This part of you, when you are in those moments of endeavoring to be that person, become that person, have the things that you desire, pursue a way of being that's idealized for you, this part of you cannot give you advice on that. It cannot give you directives. It has no idea what you're talking about because it's not part of its experience. This part of you will keep scanning for potential threats because that's simply what it's programmed to do. It's not bad. It's just doing what it's programmed to do. And our problem is that our human is thinking, but ego, small self, can't you tell me what to do in this situation? It will only give you feedback on this or that being a potential threat, and therefore not giving you true and accurate information about what's truly possible. Okay? So you have to understand that being in flow is being able to, yes, look and scan for opportunities to, see where you can do life better, see where you can be of more service, see where you can, be in this place of looking for opportunities to feel good no matter what. Your ego can't give you that information. It can't give you that feedback. It will not supply you with that directive simply because it's not programmed for that. Okay? So when you're being in flow, you're actually in a moment-to-moment place where you are teaching yourself, actually you're remembering from the master aspect of you, your soul-led self, how to proceed moment to moment with a kind of uncertainty and still feel like you're going to be okay. You're going to be supported. The ego can't do that for you. It's only the highest level master aspect soul-led self that can do that for you. Does that make sense? It looks like my video froze up. I hope you can still see me. So the less we have in our lives that's distracting us from this master aspect, the better, right? It's easier to choose flow over the inner critic, okay? But if it's all these different voices and characters of the inner critic constantly chiming in and telling you, danger, 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 pull back when you're trying to do something new, you can't be in flow in that place. Thanks, Tammy. Okay. So when we're proceeding with uncertainty, which is basically the basis of our everyday life here on this planet, it's just conditioning to have the ego be in the driver's seat, scanning for possible threats all the time. But you don't have to give the bulk of your attention, awareness, and focus over to this part of you. And if you're pursuing a more desirable potential and something you have not stepped into before, you cannot afford to listen to this aspect of self. Does that make sense? So what is the power and the benefit of being able to choose flow. First of all, you have to choose presence in order to do that. You have to choose to listen to a different level of programming, because here's the thing, folks. Just as much as the ego programming is running in the background of your life all the time, so is your master self, so is your intuitive self. But it's a subtler energy. You've got to listen a little harder for it, okay? The energy is a subtler frequency, so it's not kicking and screaming and it's loud and throwing tantrums like your ego does, because the master self aspect, your higher intuitive self, doesn't need to do that, okay? It doesn't need to be the loudest voice in your head. The ego does. The inner critic, the judge does. So you've got to be present in order to listen to it. You've got to give yourself a beat. In those moments where life is giving you a fresh challenge, can you have the mental resilience and the wherewithal to just stop and breathe and be present? Because this allows your energy to expand easily and seamlessly into the vantage point of your higher self, your master aspect, okay? So when you do that, understand that you're choosing not those fuck my life vibes. You're not choosing fear, in other words. You're choosing flow. Even when you stop and just give yourself a beat, you give yourself a moment of presence, you're choosing flow by doing that. So that's a benefit right then and there, because that means that you're exploring the now moment, which is the most valuable piece of energetic real estate that a lot of us ignore, right? But this is the only place that creation can take hold, is in the now. So this is, when we take this moment, the other benefits are, well, you get to check in, like, what is my human need right now? This always allows us to make a higher and better choice. What is my human need? Understand that when you're in flow, it's your human that's choosing flow. And the mental resilience piece, the emotional intelligence that we have, if this is more evolved with us, these are the tools that our human uses to be in flow, because your soul is already in flow. So in essence, you're not choosing from your soul, you're choosing from your human, right? This allows you to be in the moment and to ask then, when faced with this particular challenge, what is the highest and best for me now? What is the highest and best for me now? You can only really choose this in integrity, in authenticity, if you can do it from a place of presence, right? We have a better ability to assess the veracity of any situation, meaning we are better able to tune into the truth of what's really going on. You know, we can say to ourselves, okay, what's really going on here? What is this person really saying? What are the words that they're using, and what's the coding or the resonance behind the words? What's the bigger picture here of any situation? When we're in our ego, we tend to respond at the level we're being hurt, right? So we don't see the full moving parts of all the situation. But if we're in the presence of our higher self, our master aspect, our God self, we're able to see the energy behind what's happening, or behind the words that are being spoken, right? You get to check into your emotional state. And your emotional state is this ability to be able to check into your feelings, where your body's giving you this biofeedback of like, hey, this is going on. But your emotional state goes deeper, because your emotions are what you are thinking and feeling about what you're feeling, about the sensations that you're having. This will always give you a greater amount of feedback about what's really going on as well. So this is something I need to close out here, that we explore very deeply in Alignment and Thriving Core program. And this is the last day. Well, actually, tomorrow's the last day to get the early bird pricing on this program. And since I add modules to this program every time, the price continues to go up. But the coolest thing about joining this program is when you join, you have lifetime access to this level of transformation. So if you join today or tomorrow, you get $300 off this course. And then it will never be this price again, because I keep adding modules and I keep evolving this program. But when you lock in the price that you join at, you never pay another dime. This is an incredibly powerful program. It is an absolute transformational program with a capital T. It brings you back home to self, to the core truth of you. And it is removing all the veils and layers of who you had to be in order to just survive, because we need to work with different energetics in order to work with the fullness and the core truth of who we are. this is that program that walks you back home to yourself. And in essence, you get to meet yourself for the very first time. So when you join at the full price, I have one spot left for one-on-one coaching with me. This is a $750 opportunity, offered complimentary when you join at the full price today, and there's only one spot left for that. So come and play, come and join us in this incredible program. We start again on March 10th. Early bird special expires tomorrow, and there's one spot left for VIP one-on-one coaching with me, offered at a $750 value when you join at the full price for this program. So we have got our next presenter coming up. The goodness keeps going. I'm so excited to introduce our next presenter. We have Tammy Long-Schmickel coming up next, a longtime friend, someone I've gotten to meet in person, which is amazing. And she's going to be talking about inner goddess empowerment journey and sharing this with you. Mwah! Love and peace. Take it away, Tammy. Bye-bye.